We are required to take a lot of cash, and cash is expensive to handle, it's cumbersome, and it creates a whole nother boatload of challenges. We need all the services that most businesses use. We just want to operate like a normal business.
The legal cannabis market in the U.S. achieved about $20 billion in sales in 2020, according to industry analysts. That could grow to over $40 billion annually by 2025. Still, most big banks won't work with cannabis companies because marijuana is illegal under federal law. And the regional banks or credit unions that do often offer minimal services with high fees. But that could change with the Safe Banking Act, which passed the House in April. If it became law, cannabis sales would no longer be considered illegal, making the banking system accessible to the cannabis industry. While the bill's fate is uncertain, many in the industry are also encouraged by the growing number of states legalizing the drug and a democratically-controlled Senate, whose majority leader has voiced support for broader legalization.
In state after state, through ballot initiatives and constitutional amendments, the American people are sending a clear message that they want this policy changed.
For now, these companies face a lot of restrictions, like limited access to capital and financial services like credit cards.
I'm the CEO of Canna Provisions. We're a vertically integrated adult-use cannabis company in Massachusetts with the cultivation and also manufacturing on the way. We basically accept two forms of payment. One is cash and one is a debit card.
Sanders estimates that roughly 40% of transactions at her dispensaries involve debit cards. That means the company has to deal with a lot of cash.
We have 2 full-time employees that just manage our cash. We have to use an armored car service in order to move our money from our location to our bank. It's expensive to have this service, but safety is a priority, and this is the safest way to do it right now.
Even maintaining a bank account can be expensive for cannabis businesses.
For a typical cannabis operator, the cost for maintaining a bank account can scale up to about $10,000 a month.
Nick Friedman is CFO of Theory Wellness, a Massachusetts-based company that also operates in Maine.
Starting Theory, we didn't have a huge amount of capital at the time, and we purposely decided to keep it private and not go to private equity, simply looking to our own resources and to friends and family to find the funds to start the business. We raised about $3 million.
The industry has become much more sophisticated. We're seeing it now taking hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars to get operational. If you only have one place you can go for loans or investment capital, then they have the ability to set the terms, which means you're much less likely to get favorable rate. We know businesses that are paying 20, 30, 40% interest rates on business loans. As the cost of participating in this space has gone up, it has meant that kind of poor and minority communities have faced much more of a challenge trying to get a seat at the table.
The challenge with it is you end up giving a pretty good chunk of your company away in order to get your company financed. In Massachusetts, to open Canna Provisions, we raised $5 million. I would have wished we could have at least gotten mortgages for our properties, because that would have been probably $1.5 million that I wouldn't have had to raise.
We would expect some pretty consequential changes to the industry landscape if federal banking reform or something equivalent to it were to pass. The first thing we would expect to see is a significant drop in the cost of financing the business. And as a result, we would expect to see a lot more entrepreneurs start exploring opportunities in the space.
I think one implication would simply be the refinancing of some of our debt, which is at interest rates that I would say is less reflective of the risk state of our business, but simply more reflective of the limited supply of capital that exists out there.
Thank you. Have a good day.
We still have to borrow at interest rates that are extremely high.
We are doing very well, and any bank that I went to with our numbers and our balance sheet and our P&L would say, how much do you want and how quickly can I give it to you? I can't do that right now. You should be able to build on your success, not only as a company, but also with your bank and financial institutions to make sure that you can keep growing as fast as the market needs you to. And I think that's a big hindrance to us.